The Congress of South African Students is threatening to shut down private schools in Gauteng. This follows the Basic Education Department's move to gazette new dates, allowing private schools to begin operating from the 1st of next month and public schools 2 weeks later. Taking out to Charterhouse Primary School, that's where we find our reporter Mbali Thethani, who's standing by for us with details on the story. Mbali, the differential between public and private schooling when it comes to handling the pandemic was always going to be controversial, wasn't it?
That's right, and we do know that Cosas members alongside members of the ANC Youth League have vowed to come to this school this morning. This follows reports that this school is in fact in operation despite those COVID-19 regulations. Now, we do know that South Africa is experiencing its second wave of the pandemic, meaning that more people are now infected with COVID-19. So we know that the Basic Education Department has asked schools. We know that they were expected to open much earlier this month, but because of the second wave of the pandemic, the Basic Education Department has asked schools to stop with the duration of the academic year, and this academic year now has been revised and it is expected to start from the 1st of February. We know that public schools, Ayanda, are expected to resume academic or start academic activities for the 2021 academic year from the 15th of February, but there is this sort of tussle between the Basic Education Department as well as independent and private schools. Ayanda, but just to bring into conversation someone from the ANC Youth League, we are joined by Lindo Guhle. You and your members have vowed to come here this morning and to shut down the school. Tell us more about that.
It cannot be that you have a school that is open during this difficult time of a pandemic in the country. People are dying. We must save life. And it cannot be that we have schools that operate outside the mandate of the government. We must have one academic calendar for one educational system. You can't have an education system that is more superior than the other education system. Our view is that these private schools, they do not respect government. And they are here teaching, and they are not teaching because they want to teach our people. They are teaching because they are after profit. And we are saying that we must be able to respect government. We must have one nation in the spirit of nation building. You cannot have two education systems in one country. We are here to knock this school in order to call for all the private schools to shut down until all schools open. Ours is to save lives. People are dying and these schools are operating. It cannot be correct. These kids are from families. When they live here, they live with the pandemic, they live with the disease, they go and infect families. Some of these families have helpers who are black, who are from townships, and those helpers, they go home with the same virus, and they then infect black communities in townships. So we are saying this school is not superior. It must be subjected to the rules, to the regulations of the lockdown. We are not going to accept. We are not going to accept a situation where you have a private education system that is not complying with the government. In fact, what is happening here, in fact, is contravention of the lockdown regulations. They have contravened the Lockdown Disaster Management Act, and we believe they must be arrested. And we are very much concerned with the silence of people like the Minister of Police, who go around shutting down all the black businesses that are operating, that are trying to make a living. But it doesn't come and shut down this business that is operating. We are also calling on MEC of Education to be decisive when it comes to these matters. We are also calling to the department to be decisive. We cannot afford a situation where black kids are at home not studying. They have already lost almost a year of not studying. Some of them did not finish the academic calendar last year. They must go and finish, but they cannot go back to school. But these ones who have laptops, who are able to have online learning, are open. But these people, most of them, they finish the academic calendar. It does not do well for democracy. We are not having a non-racial society. So we are saying government must be decisive in closing down these schools. If government does not close these schools, we are going to close them ourselves. And here, we are coming here to close this school ourselves, and we are going to close each and every school that is open until all schools are open. No school must operate. Yes.
What are your main concerns when you look at schools of this nature who are operating, where we know that the Basic Education Department has asked that for schools to only return much later in the year? Of course, this is next month. What are your main concerns in terms of others not being able to step into a classroom?
Our main concern is that this thing promotes racism. It promotes what you call separate development. It means in this country, you have a public education that is under-resourced, that cannot go to school in time, but you also have a private education that is more resourced. But our also main concern is that we seem to be having people in this country who are not really part of this country. You have people who do not respect government and authority of government in this country. And that is our main concern. We are here to stamp authority of government. We are saying government must not enforce rules and lockdown regulations selectively. When it's black people, government is very quick to respond through police. But when it's white people doing what they are doing, because these people are really contravening, are breaking the law, what they are doing is illegal. But government is nowhere to be found. So that is our first concern. But mostly, our main concern also has to do with this thing of having private schools in this country that operate outside government. I tell you, this thing is the one that regenerates racism. You have a private educational system in the country that does not subscribe to what government wants. And they are teaching a content that is almost outside what government prefers. Government does not know what is being taught here. But government is running this country. It means government is not in charge. So we are saying government must take charge of these schools. It cannot be, my sister, that we have parents paying money for education for schools when these schools are closed. You cannot pay when it's during lockdown. So these schools are actually after profit. Our main concern is that you have a commodified type of education, and these people are only after money, not after the development of the country.
Okay, my one last question to you. We know that the ANC Youth League is expected to go to conference. Is this part of your campaign in order for you to ascend to the top at the ANC Youth League?
There is no campaign in the ANC. We do not campaign for position, but we are all custodians of change, and every member of the ANC is an agent of change. And the problem in the country at the moment is that education is commodified, including higher education. You have a situation where education is not accessible unless you have money to buy it. And we are saying education cannot be a commodity. It must be public. People must access education on the basis of them qualifying for education. So this is part of us reclaiming the space of the ANC Youth League and making sure that the ANC Youth League stands for what is correct in society and champion the interest of young people.
All right, thank you very much. That is, of course, Lindo Buhle Kulu there, just talking about their program for today, saying that as much as children are now beginning to go to school at some private schools, this in effect has a ripple effect and in turn affects much bigger communities. And this is why they are expected to come here in their numbers to come and shut down the school. And I don't know if you've seen that they have a chain in their hands. They've also got a very big lock, and they're saying that they will not allow education or schooling to take part at the school today.
Well, Mbali Thethani, thanks very much. We'll be watching that story alongside you throughout the morning and possibly in the afternoon. Mbali Thethani, live to us there from Johannesburg.